Yes, friends, I'm on Pottsville Beach in northern New South Wales, and today I'm going to talk to you about why your addictions are flaring up right now in the world. I've been speaking to a few clients the last few days, and the common consensus is there's a strong anxiety in the belly, and the reason that topic's came up is because I too have been feeling a strong, unusual anxiety in my belly. And I want to explain a few reasons why that most likely is the case right now. It could be because of the global crisis. What I think more, it has something to do with it, but what I think more to do with is the fact that because a lot of people have lost their routines now, what we're becoming aware of is an anxiety that's always been there. It's just that now you do not have the normal routine to squash it. And so as a result, what's happening is a lot of people are turning to their addictions. Now, when we talk about an addiction, now let me describe it. Addictions, it's going to be drugs, alcohol, sex, masturbation, Netflix, coffee, maybe calling someone the wrong person for a booty call. You'll know what your addictions are. You'll know them because you're going back to them again and again, and they're not making you feel good right now, even though you keep going back to them. Now, the addiction itself is not the problem. An addiction is actually, Gabor Mate describes this really well. He's done a lot of study on addictions. An addiction is actually your body's way of finding a solution to a problem you already have. So when you get down to it, your addiction is a way to solve normally an anxiety in the belly or some sort of uncomfortable feeling you don't know how to solve. And so we look beyond ourselves for some resource to make us feel good. Drugs get us high, beer gets us numb, for example. Orgasm just makes us release our brain for a little while, distracts us. So I want to talk about ego state therapy. I've talked to all these clients about this the last few days, and because it keeps coming up, I thought I'd do a video on it. Ego state therapy is made by a guy called Gordon Emerson. There's many different types of this similar sort of therapy. But basically the premise is that we have many different ego states, normally about 15 for each person. That is 15 different parts of you. You'll be able to check into this because there's always a voice in your head, and the voice changes depending on what mood you're in. When you're guilty, the voice is normally scolding you, and it might actually sound more like your mum or your dad or something like that. The voices are inside our own heads, but they're different characters inside our heads. It's completely normal to have this. We become a bit crazy when those voices start to speak out and we're speaking to ourselves outside of our heads, but we're no more or less crazy than the person who does that, really. When we're talking about ego state therapy, I just want to get you to the point that the reason your addictions are coming out right now is because one of those ego states steps into the executive. That is like the driver's seat when it feels like it's needed. And you've programmed your body to do that for you. So when you have, for example, if you're a kid and you are getting bullied a lot, and then one day you get really angry and you fight back and get crazy and fight back, and then the kids pick on you again, your unconscious or your conscious learns, next time I get picked on in any way, I'm going to get angry and get fucking aggressive. So if it works, it's good. The problem is we can keep that same ego state going into our adult life, and then when your missus pushes you, or when your boss pushes you, or someone spills your drink at the bar, and then you smack them in the face and knock them out, it gets you in trouble when your anger's going over the top because you're going back to an old resource that isn't appropriate at that time. What's happening right now in the world is many people are feeling this baseline anxiety that most likely has always been there, because in today's world we're constantly being bombarded with different dopamine rushes, just being constantly distracted. And so there's a constant anxiety there that we're now becoming aware of because our routine of work and whatever else has changed. And so we're becoming aware of a feeling that probably has already been there. What happens is, if you're an addictive person, we all are addictive, it just depends on how bad your addiction is, how destructive your addiction is. Your addictive personality comes forward. That version of you is actually trying to solve that problem of anxiety or confusion in your belly by band-aiding over the top of it. I'm going to give you something that'll make you feel good. And your addictive personality will be very convincing, the voice in your head, to tell you why you should do it. It just wants you to feel good. It wants to feel good. So the secret here is to become aware of why, the feeling you are feeling that makes you want the drug or whatever your addiction is, and the feeling you want to get from that. If a drug makes you feel really good and has no negative consequences, then it's okay. It's not really a negative addiction. It's when you use it, it doesn't actually solve the problem, and then you have a really bad hangover or a 5-day come down that it becomes a problem. So I'm not really going to solve your problem so much right now. I want you to become aware of that anxiety in your body, because most likely it's an anxiety that's constantly there. It's just now you're more aware of it. And two, I want you to become aware of why you're reaching out to addictions. My suggestion would be right now, first of all, think of the feeling you want to get from the addiction. Might be a feeling of calm. See if you can get it in a different way. Meditation, exercise is always a good one basically for anything. Just go for a sprint, for a few sprints, and then if you still want to go get on the gear afterwards, then go get on the gear. But at least try something different first if you know it's going to be a destructive addiction. The third thing I would recommend is what we call a dopamine fast. I talked about this quite recently too. If you can do a day without your phone, without your addictions basically, without your phone, without food especially, you can eat but maybe not sugary food, orgasm, masturbation, sex, coffee, all those things that we go to give us a high or instant pleasure. If you can go a day without that, we call that a dopamine fast. I'll put actually a link below to a really cool YouTube video that explains it well, that will motivate you to why you want to do this. It will be very, very uncomfortable for you. That feeling of body anxiety is going to flare up more. It's going to say, go get this thing, you need this, you need this, you need this, whatever your addiction is. It is just your body looking for a way to patch up the anxiety. If you go into it knowing it's going to be very challenging, this anxiety in my guts is going to be very strong. I really recommend if you can to go into nature. I know it's hard right now. Lock yourself in your room. Tell everyone around you, I'm doing this for this reason because I want to feel better. The way it works mainly is because your dopamine receptors in your brain get reset. The receptors are not getting bombarded with dopamine because if they're getting bombarded with dopamine, which they are in our lives nowadays, they become numb. So if you just cut off, a day is probably ideally you want to go for a week or just 2 days even. A day is maybe not quite long enough, but it's a good start. Is it just lets your receptors reset to a comfortable level and then you don't need so much dopamine just to feel good. So that would be my recommendation. I'll put a link below before the dopamine fast, which is done by a really cool YouTube channel to give you motivation of why you should do it and the science behind it. And to become aware of why you're reaching to your addictions right now. Because if you're feeling out of control, that sucks. If you can become aware of, oh, that's why it's happening, sometimes that can make you not be so hard on yourself. And sometimes that can just solve the problem itself. So hope that helps you fellas and ladies. Keep it real. See you real soon. Have fun.